Let us take you back to 1989. Roland Garros. 17-year-old Michael Chang, undersized, cramping, was doing the impossible. He was picking apart Ivan Lendl in what became one of the most famous matches in tennis history. Near the end of that epic, with his legs betraying him, Chang pulled out something nobody expected, an underarm serve. A soft, scooped serve that sent Lendl forward and opened a crack in the top seed's armor. Chang used cunning, not power, and against the odds, he won the match. And later that year, the whole tournament, that moment seared the underarm into the sport's history. The underarm serve itself is ancient if you trace tennis back to its earliest forms. The rules allowed any legal contact to put the ball in play, and players experimented with a variety of serves. But in modern tennis, the underarm became a rare tactic, an oddity, until Chang's moment put it on the map. After Chang, the shot drifted into the toolbox of occasionally desperate players more than mainstream weaponry, until the modern era reawakened it. Why does the origin matter? Because Chang didn't use the shot to mock or taunt. He used it because his body failed him. The very first big underarm serve in the public imagination was a survival trick. That historical reality complicates the modern moral outrage. But more on that in a minute. And before we keep going, you might as well hit that subscribe button. You're here because you love tennis, and so do we. And if you want to see more interesting tennis content and the hottest takes around, well, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and you might as well hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on a single video. Decades after Chang, the underarm serve was sometimes a trick play in club matches or rare pro moments. It turned up occasionally in doubles and exhibition matches and so on and so forth, but it was never a mainstream weapon in a tour match. Not like a slice serve or a kick serve. Tennis's culture pushed toward power, precision, and etiquette. It wasn't polite to humiliate your opponent with what looked like a gimmick. That cultural taboo kept the underarm in eccentricity, rather than a strategy book staple. Fast forward to the 2010s and beyond. Tennis gets younger, social media accelerates, trends cycles, and players start to value unpredictability. Enter the new ambassadors of the underarm serve. Nick Kyrgios, Alexander Bublik, Daniil Medvedev from time to time, Corentin Moutet, and a handful of others who treat the court like a chessboard with explosive tactics. Kyrgios in particular has been the poster child for the debate. He used underarm serves at big matches, he's shrugged about criticism, and he's turned the serve into both a weapon and a personality moment. Half tactical, half theater. Every time he does it, commentators, fans, and rivals respond like a volcano blew. Some are enthralled, others outraged. The point is, Kyrgios helped normalize the shot in the modern consciousness. And Bublik has taken it a step further and turned the underarm into part of his identity. Multiple underarms in a game, a cheeky wink to the crowd, a mental grenade thrown at the opponent's rhythm, where once the underarm was used rarely and reluctantly, players like Bublik throw it repeatedly now, not from desperation, but because it yields points when the opponent camps away 40 feet behind the baseline. Even Daniil Medvedev, a guy known for reading the return game like a schematic, has used versions of underarm tactics, showing that even methodical baseline maestros don't consider it a mere prank anymore. It's a statement that modern tennis elite are willing to deploy whatever legal tool breaks the opponent's pattern. Here's where the boxing gloves come on. The traditional argument against the underarm serve is simple. It's disrespectful. Tennis has an unwritten code. Respect the opponent. Play points the right way. A serve that looks like a soft lob can be interpreted as an insult, i.e., I don't respect you enough to serve hard. Fans and pundits often frame it as petty or unsportsmanlike. Some elite players and coaches publicly voice confusion or annoyance. The reaction is visceral because the underarm doesn't fit the classic tennis narrative. It's not a display of raw talent or grand strategy in the old way. It's tactical poke and trigger for emotion. For many, that emotional reaction is the point the underarm serve is supposed to provoke. For many, that emotional reaction is the point. the underarm serve is supposed to provoke. But the disrespect argument has a problem. The underarm is legal. The rules don't say you must bang the ball at 120 miles per hour. If you can legally place a serve where the opponent cannot reach it, that's a point you earned, by rules and by strategy. The question becomes, is it bad sportsmanship or is it smart play? For many modern players and coaches, especially those who analyze points through the lens of advantage, it's clearly the latter. Patrick Mortaglia has gone so far as to compare it to other tactical plays like the drop shot, arguing the serve isn't inherently disrespectful.
I think the underarm serve is a real weapon. We don't have more because some players feel that is disrespectful to play this shot, which is something I completely don't understand. It's as respectful as a drop shot. Why would be a drop shot disrespectful? Why would an underarm serve be disrespectful? It's not at all. It's just a shot that it's probably sometimes the best shot to do against some players. And if you look at the history of our sport, there is one very famous one, is the one of Michael Chang in Roland Garros against Ivan Lendl. And he did it because he was cramping and he just wanted a free point, and he thought, if I do something crazy, maybe the guy is going to miss, and this is exactly what happened.
And if your opponent is standing 3 to 4 meters behind the baseline to give themselves time for the next ball, a perfectly executed underarm serve forces them to sprint forward, play an awkward ball, and break their rhythm. It also turns the point into a scramble with feet and touch, things that often favor the server if they can recover to the net or the right side quickly. It's not clownery, it's pattern disruption. And beyond the physical, the underarm serve is a mental weapon. Hitting an underarm serve is saying, in effect, I read you. I can tilt a match. If you pull it off, the opponent can feel embarrassed, irritated, or off tempo. That can lead to mistakes in the next several games. Conversely, if you botch it, you look foolish and hand your opponent a momentum swing. It's a gamble. Players who deploy it often aim to break rhythm more than score a single point. Bublik's repeated underarm serves are as much about destabilizing an opponent's confidence as they are about getting an easy winner. And in a mental game like tennis, that can be everything. There's a generational split. Younger players influenced by social media, exhibition tennis, and an anything goes attitude view the underarm serve as another tool. They've grown up with non-traditional sportsmanship and are less bound to tennis's old school etiquette. Older generations, the purists, see it as a degradation of the sport's dignity. The clash is a cultural moment for tennis. Is the game evolving into something sleeker, craftier, and more entertaining? Or is it eroding traditions that give tennis its identity? We think the truth is pretty clear, and that this tradition deserves to die. As much as tradition preserves the sport's history and class, evolution keeps tennis relevant and strategically rich. The underarm sits at the center of that tug of war, and for sure should win. And legally, the underarm serve is kosher. The laws say the server must hit the ball into the correct box. They don't demand that you stand behind the baseline or launch with your wrist turned 90 degrees. With the rules on your side, the ethical complaint becomes murkier. Are you violating a community expectation? Possibly. Are you cheating? Definitely not. If tennis wants to ban the underarm, it can, but it would be a strange rule to write after the shot has been used successfully and historically. And practical politics matter. Fans love unexpected moments, and tournaments benefit from viral clips. So even if the purists scream, the incentive to keep drama in the sport is large. So here's our hot take. The underarm serve is not disrespect by default. It's evolution. Tennis is a game of patterns, and any legal pattern breaker is a legitimate weapon. It's clear. The real critique should land on bad context. If a player underarms repeatedly solely to mock or to tank a match, it's a different story. And it's not so tactical. But a well-timed underarm that exploits defensive positioning? Why not? If you lose to an underarm serve because you were camped at the baseline, that's on you. Because you were camped well behind the baseline, that's on you. Adaptation is part of the sport. If your opponent thinks to pull the rug out from under you, that's a point earned by the better strategist. The rules are the rules. And inside those rules, well, creativity thrives. The underarm serve is a tiny stroke in the grand painting of tennis. But it tells us something larger. The sport's changing. It's less deferential to past aesthetics and more willing to let players experiment with tactics that provoke strong emotion. It's messy, It's controversial, but it's great television. So the next time a player underarms, whether it's Kyrgios, Bublik, Medvedev, or an up-and-comer, stop waiting for someone to shout disrespect and instead watch the chess match. See why the players used it, see how the opponent reacts, notice whether it was a clever exploitation of a tendency or a clumsy stunt. The underarm won't go away. It's legal, it works, and it will keep making the sport a little less polite and a lot more interesting. That's the controversy, that's the debate, and that's why a shot that looks like a backyard trick is actually one of the most explosive, conversation-starting plays in tennis history. See you next time.